Welcome back to play day 4 of the NAL, our second game of today. Cloud9 going up against DZ, the undefeated top dogs of the region so far. I'm Jeannie, joined with Foxay and Lax, and we're going to try and break this one down because when we're looking at C9 specifically as a team, they didn't have the most terrible performances on Reload, and we thought, okay, coming into the NAL, coming into the regional league, there are certain expectations that we had of them, which they didn't meet. But then DZ is DZ.
Yeah.
DZ's the Swiss Army knife in the league, in my opinion, in terms of just a well-rounded roster and everyone playing into those strengths.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think they have the one player that nobody else in the league has, which is Spirits. You just got to always worry about him at all times, essentially.
A scary situation to be in for every single one of the teams that are going to be going up against them. But C9, let's start there, because this is a roster, as we've already touched upon, that we didn't have too high hopes coming into Reload. They showed us a little bit of what they're capable of. Now they're back in this regional league. They're back onto the NAL, home soil, but they failed to find the same success.
Yeah, you know, we were giving them praise early on of saying, you know, they just need more time. They just need more reps. Well, now you've had time. We're going into day 4. There's no more excuses to be made at this point because what we saw yesterday, it was already a bit of a head scratcher when we saw them want to take SSG to border, just for the simple fact we already saw what their border looked like at Reload. They would lose 7-5 to M80. And realistically, it was also a question of, given how their performance has been and where they were successful on, was, again, Packer finding those gaps, being able to create that space. But you can't do that on a map like Border. You already know for a fact when you get into Border, it is going to be gunfights right out the get-go. And then on top of gunfights, you want to take SSG, a team that is notoriously known for their aggression, where you are going to have to enter the building against that sort of defense. And as you're seeing up there, it's clearly a night and day difference in terms of that performance. And sure, you could argue a 7-4, that is a close game, but you could almost put that on the backing of Kobe Lax just having that performance yesterday where no one else could find their sheer gut in terms of performance. So again, for me, if you're going to be Cloud9 going into this game against Darkzero, another heavy-hitting team, the best team in the league looking like so far, you have to bring a lot more in terms of your preparation, your ability to adapt. Because what we saw yesterday, especially once they switched to their defense, they almost just played a game of ranked, and they were immediately getting shut down in every single front going against SSG.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the preparation because that was the biggest thing that set C9 aside from the other teams in week 1. Obviously, they had some growing pains, but that wildcard win showed a lot of promise as to what was to come to C9. Obviously, this week comes around, and the preparation wasn't really there. No. Head scratcher going to Border, and the way that they played didn't really make sense. And what the general consensus of the team is when you look at C9, they just don't have as much consistent firepower as some of the other top teams in the league. So you have to be able to play with the cards dealt to you. You have to understand if our X factor is taking position, having Packer be able to open up this space, we need to be able to go to maps to that. And obviously, going up against a team like DZ, they have to be able to come into it knowing, okay, DZ has all of these bags of tricks. We have to be able to pinch the weakness of it, and it doesn't look like C9 is necessarily doing that just yet.
Yeah, but then also brings the question of where exactly does the weakness of DZ lie, because you have a roster that you obviously going to have to be focusing on Spirits, you're going to have to try and ban them out, which is what we're seeing a lot of teams do, but then you have 4 other players that are just going to roam freely and do whatever they want either way.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do myself any favors with DZ saying the weakness, because they don't really have a weakness at the moment, and obviously they have the one X factor that we highlighted, Spirits. He's been so consistent for this team. He's been the reason that Darkzero has revolutionized themselves. We've seen a passive DZ. We've seen them go for plays. Something we never really saw is a fast and aggressive DZ. Up until Sao Paulo, once Nafe was brought onto the team with Canadian IGLing, we saw glimmers of it, a taste of a fast and aggressive DZ. And it wasn't something that we saw until now. Once they got rid of Canadian, they bring Spirits in. Who is that spearhead? He makes things and people move. That's what Citizen said in the interview yesterday. Spirits allows the rest of the team to succeed so well because everybody has to be focused on him. And Spirits isn't even the top player on the team. He's the 4th right now, allowing everybody else on Darkzero to play comfortably, not have any pressure, hold their angles, hold their lanes, and just do what they do best. And everybody knows DZ is great at holding angles, one of the best teams at it. So obviously, once you have that X factor of Spirits implemented into the team, shocking the enemy teams, focused on him, everybody else is able to thrive.
I mean, I think we talk about a lot of players on this roster, but one player that really sticks out to me the most really is going to be Nate. Because when you think of every IGL across the board, across regions, they typically typically perform kind of at the bottom or mid tier, where you see Nafe actually performing at the top. And I criticized him when he first joined the NAL, of what is the comparison to a player like Troy, IGL of Troy. But I think where Nafe is going and where he's leading this roster, and even just in his own right, he's really molding into something that really can take shape of being one of the best IGLs in the game currently here, regardless of not maybe having the accolades of a player like Troy and what he has. But Nafe definitely, and especially with the roster now, I can easily see this team find their stride and start gaining those accolades, winning those championships, as long as they keep improving and using their Swiss Army knife style of play.
I think the turning point for you when you actually started liking Nafe was when he told you that he doesn't like being
absolutely.
That's when you're like,
100%.
okay, yeah, that's my guy.
That's when I knew everything was going uphill for this roster.
I knew. But we also have the map veto ready, so it's a matter of where we're going to be seeing this best of one taking place. I think Border, as we touched upon already, for C9 was a little bit of a head scratcher, and that's not something that we would like to see them repeat. I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I think you want to play a little bit of a map that gives you a little space to work with, especially for Packers' sake, being able to find those gaps, being able to work to. Please don't.
No. Why would you go back to Border? Darkzero just smoked M80 on it 7-2, and Cloud9 lost it yesterday. Why?
Maybe they saw something that we didn't see?
Yeah,
I don't agree with this. I think in terms of the prep that we just even saw, even in terms of the adaptation that we saw yesterday from Cloud9, you're now going against Darkzero where they look strong. So sure, I'm sure in some sense you're feeling good that you can try to pick apart what DZ did, but I just can't. You weren't doing it on attack. And again, I mean, we're looking at these stats here. I don't know what you're going to mold in from yesterday to make something today, because it wasn't beautiful yesterday. It wasn't beautiful before. I mean, surely I can't get behind that.
I can literally like already guess you guys' predictions. I don't know if either one of you have put down C9 before this, but now definitely it's gonna be DZ.
Definitely not.
Because what was there even to pick apart from DZ's performance yesterday?
Nothing really. I mean, to be honest, I would love to be disproven by Cloud9. I would love to see them shock and awe us and, you know, have an amazing match. But right now, I just don't see that coming. And obviously, we just talked about it. Like, plain and simply, Cloud9 does not have the firepower that some of these other teams at the top have. They do have great individual players, and they have amazing preparation, and that's what gives them that edge over the teams like OXG, Cruelty, Orgulus. But when you just don't use the preparation, it just questions me. Like, you're not using your greatest asset, which is the fact that you can use that preparation, the smart aspect of it, the fact that nobody really knows how your team plays just yet, but you're just throwing it out the window by bringing it to a map that doesn't allow much strategy. You're not able to use Packer in that lurk spot position. And obviously, to go to a map like Border against arguably the best team in the league right now, that just proved that they smoked the other top team in the league, it just doesn't make sense with the thought process.
I mean, the only caveat of this is they start on defense this time, where, again, that still didn't look strong. It looked like they were just playing a game of ranked. They were just throwing bodies to solve a problem. So maybe they're taking from this and saying, hey, we can play more together. We can play these trades. We don't necessarily have to play as aggressive as we did, but then it falls back to that attacking side. Is sure, maybe you do something on defense, but if your attacks you can't even get your foot in the door, it just goes to show that the prep and the preparation, the adaptation, it just simply is not there. And I just can't get behind going back to Border again for whatever reasoning, regardless of what they try to muster out.
Nah, you two are heated, and I'm gonna give you guys a little bit to cool down, because instead we're gonna be heading over to our casters and see what they think of the fact that Border is gonna be where Cloud9 is taking DZ. So Extroika and Lynx, let us know.
I mean, C9 lose Border yesterday. It's one of SSG's best maps, to be fair, but they lose Border yesterday. So surely they'll fare better against Pambazoo, one of the best fraggers in North America for the past 4 years. Citizen, one of the best fraggers in the world in the past 5 years. Spirits, one of the most underrated flex players in North America. I don't really see the logic either. I want to be honest. I think if you didn't do well against SSG yesterday, who are great but sometimes a bit uncoordinated, you're not pulling it out against DZ today. You're just not doing it. Or simple, it is Border. It is Border, though. Like, it's hard to... yeah, exactly. It's hard to understand why we're here. I hope we can make the best of it. But, again, Citizen, Pambazoo, against Cloud9 on border. Kobulax was the only one, not only positive rated, positive KD, right? Not only all that, everyone on C9 yesterday had a sub 50% cost against SSG in a 7-4 game. Wasn't like a DZ M80 7-1, 7-2. Wasn't where we only played 8 rounds overall. We played 11 rounds. It's about like an average length. But I mean, below 50% for almost across the board, Ollie. I mean, that...
No, I agree.
Oh, I'm real nervous how this is going to go.
I think nervous is... it's understandable to be nervous. You know? We never know what we're going to get. We load into a game of Siege. We're here to watch a couple of teams play. You never really know what's going to happen. Are you going to be here for, 25 minutes? Are you going to be here for an hour? Like, who knows? All we got to do is deal what we have in front of us. And at the moment, we've, of course, got Cloud9 versus Darkzero. Both of these two teams, as the Destin mentioned, played this map, yesterday. They both had very different times on the map, I would like to suggest.
That's one way of putting it.
Although the results were also quite polar opposite. But let's not let the past cloud our judgment about what is going to happen today. In terms of the bans, we've got an Azami, Smoke, and a couple of shields removed. A Blitz and a Monty. That isn't going to be available for Cloud9. However, they will have a Blackbeard, at least for the first 5 rounds, and then maybe that gets removed as well. We shall see. The lineup, it is going to be a Blackbeard. We are going to have a Glass, and we are going to have both a Ram and a Sens. So it speaks of a little bit executey. It speaks of them trying to get in there and having something that they've, got dialed, something that they've maybe practiced a couple of times. And it's going to be on, well, Darkzero to really sort of understand what that is and react accordingly. Yesterday, when we saw these two teams play, we saw, again, they had a very different time of things. Darkzero had a very easy game on the face of things, and the scoreline would suggest that. Cloud9, they did struggle a lot more. And a lot of that was in some of their confidence on the attack. I really didn't feel like they had that killer instinct to really go in there and get the job done.
Well, and especially when Darkzero have immediately target banned 2 of the 3 ops Packer plays most often. He is always, and has been, since he was even on like CL4L in Pro League, or even before then, he's always a shield guy. He likes to open up that space for his team playing those shields. That's why Darkzero took out Blitz and the Monty, and I wouldn't be shocked if we see Blackbeard go in round 4. C9 have tried to take out the Azami, which makes CCTV very easy to play, but also some of that time denial on the site, which could help if they go for a quick entry. As you can see, Ollie mentioned the Ram. That boogie drone's not getting used for Verd. Kobulax is going to immediately smash open a barricade in all likelihood and sprint in and try to get an opening. Well, not anymore because he's dead. Pambazoo playing a classic Pambazoo DZ position, by the way. He loves to bob and weave around that rotate hole on the side of these stairs, and what do you know? Goes for a flank, wraps around, immediately hits Packer, immediately hits 3 in C9's face. I mean, this is an old classic. Actually, it might have been Citizen right there, not Pambazoo. Excuse me. Either way, classic position that DZ like to play and get aggressive on that east stairs, and it seems C9 did not do their homework.
Huh. Round 1, eh?
We're on border. We're here.
Welcome to border, everybody.
Welcome back. We just finished round 10 of DZ versus M80, and it went just about the same as all those other ones.
Yeah. I mean, that was a round. I don't really know what the play was. Obviously, there was a lot of information available, and there was a really good drone that was inside of Office. And I'm just a little bit confused as to, where it was, what it did. Because Kobulax had some fantastic information on that thing, and they knew that there was players sniffing in and around that area. You've purposely banned out the Azami and then not, chosen not to go in to CCTV at all. Just a little bit of a weird one. You've got the guy playing at the top of East Stairs. You know that that's a position that a lot of players will like to play, especially if they want to take up a little bit more of an aggressive angle. And especially if you've got a couple of rotates in from Office into that corridor outside. So, really just a bit of a strange one.
And it is a common position, but do you know how many clips I have casted, let alone that's happened? Do you know how many clips I personally have witnessed of Pambazoo getting a multi-kill playing that exact position? I genuinely at least 2 hands. I can remember at least 5 off the top of my head in the past 1.5 to 2 years. And that's where you're getting hit by first round in a map Darkzero played literally yesterday? I don't know, man. We're just already rough stuff out the gate. SSG went up 4-0 over C9 yesterday to start out. And we'll have to hope, I guess, that Cloud9 able to recover the momentum a bit easier, for a bit, hopefully a bit quicker than they were able to yesterday. Packer will immediately burst up one of that castle barricades, and well, there's a secondary layer right behind that. Silent will take control down below, moving quickly into East Stairs, but down goes Dream. Where? I've got no goddamn idea.
The thing that I do know is that he was the sole hard breacher. So they are not looking pretty on whatever plan A was. Gitty, next player to fall. Now, that doesn't necessarily ensure the mirror windows are going to stay intact. We've still got Ash launchers, and we've also still got the ability to punch them if you get close enough. But it is going to remove the sneaky element of things. Hobilax has got himself into the top of East Stairs, and he's going to look to try and drone out a little bit. Some information gained there by Silent as well, but Packer, what can he really do here? He knows that there's a mirror window challenging him, calls for that Ash charge to come through. It is going to smash the glass. Packer not in the position to be able to play more aggressively right now, and the Darkzero, they can just start to drop off slowly but surely.
Oh my god, Pambazu hitting the wraparound again. Different position, but exact same maneuver he did before. Packer will catch it. So 2v3 for Cloud9 as they have acquired full vertical control. Can't do a whole lot with it. Oh, just spot Citizen. Ooh, overstaying his welcome inside of CCTV. Now all of a sudden you have something workable here. NGR with that C4 will likely want to use it earlier on to try and bring a pick back, because there's not a lot of easy spots you can use it for plant denial on the site. Watching this hatch too as he knows they've taken control of CC. Nice destruction on that BP, but with 35 seconds remaining and no flashes for Kobilax, you're really hoping Packer, I was about to say, can get a lot of movement opening things up with that Blackbeard, but he's by himself right now. Kobe's still up top, and it's only Blackbeard down below. We need to see that Flores join Packer pretty soon as he spots Amira all by her lonesome. Pushes her deeper and deeper into vent. He's by himself. Nafe stuck inside, and Packer will finish him off 1v1 by the end. But how have they clawed that one back from the brink?
Done a fantastic job there of leveling it to a 2 versus 2. I think you put it really well in the heat of the moment that Citizen maybe just overstaying a little bit inside of CCTV there. I commented on it at the time when I started to see players dropping off. That was the time to do that. They had potential and they had loads of avenues of escape. This kill here, really crucial there from Packer.
Nafe too. Nafe being stuck inside that room too.
Well, yeah, Nath getting stuck inside the room and it to come out as a trade as well was obviously quite unfortunate, but still a player being alive on that side of Cloud9 ensures that they win the round. Close stuff. Cloud9, hey, they've got themselves a round. It's 1-1. Let's see what else they can do right now, because you know it was a decent clear of that top floor. It cost them quite a few bodies. I'll give them that. But they were able to answer a couple of different problems.
10 seconds left before insertion.
I will
not
say,
necessarily the sort of utility, well, not necessarily the kill problems, but the utility was sort of dealt with okay.
yeah, I mean, they were able to pop that mirror window and, you know, push Citizen back in the first place. I will say, I'm a bit curious, actually, why Nafe was over there, because that was a custom supply defense. We didn't really mention the side all that much, but it's not like he was defending the site. It was on the opposite side of a castle barricade that was separating us. Maybe he did just get stuck, but I'm actually curious why he was over there. Maybe he had a valid reason, I don't know. I'm genuinely curious. But it did result in him getting stuck. As you said, though, utility clear was decent from Cloud9. They did bring a lot of the necessary tools, especially bringing that Ash as redundancy once Giddy fell down on the Twitch early. Coming from the 3v5 overall, not only recovering the momentum in terms of the macro game, but in the round 2, looking quite good. Spirits will reveal his position, not only by walking outside, but getting spotted on that drone. He's got some support from Citizen on that TCSG, playing around the break room position. I would like to see Packer get a little bit more action, Ollie. I don't know if you agree, but he got some kills last time to be sure, but I'd like him to see him create a lot more space, and Cloud9 fill it as he moves through. It's felt a lot more solo and less like a team effort with this Blackbeard.
No, he's felt like a hot poker sort of slicing through, especially on that Blackbeard, and he's been able to remove the castle barricades with relative ease if he's been given the access to do so. But the second part of your statement is the more crucial one, in my opinion. It's that space then being filled by players. Nice little activate on the goggles there, and a C4 going to be attempted. The nade to try and displace, but it's not going to come off there for DZ, losing that entry battle.
Got to give him credit for that one. I mean, we don't necessarily see people flood in behind Packer, but he's not scared at all by that C4. He's got support on that window, too, so it is a team effort. Might not be taking the space he creates, but certainly helping him contest it. And you also have Pamazu, I believe, go down to Giddy. Playing this exact same position he did yesterday. Cloud9 will open up the barricade, allow him to creep in, and he holds this cutoff angle. And Pamazu ends up falling to that DMR. NJR holding out on the top floor. Very important utility and a potentially very important engagement. Smoke will go out. Fire extinguisher popped. And does NJR use it as cover to fall back? No, he still remains on that top floor, trying to do a little bit of damage to Packer, but he's got to be careful. He, too, doesn't overstay his welcome.
Great swing there from Gitty. Some good information being exchanged right now from Cloud9. Something that was very evident yesterday and is now is that they are pretty careless with those drones. They've only got 2 left for this final 35 seconds. So gathering this info isn't going to be the easiest, but the advantage they do have is man count. Still got the diffuser, still got a little bit of utility to go off. We've got the glass, we've got some smokes. A lot comes down to how well Nathan Citizen can play inside of this final 20.
Ooh, what a find for Dream right there. Citizen 1v4 around the corner, no C4, and no angle on this player putting the case down. He tries to see the feet, but Giddy's already taken the courtyard position. Nothing he can do. Cloud9, their first time with a lead on border in 2 plays of it over 2 days. And it's come very early on, Ollie. The first round might not have looked all that good, but I have to say, those 2 attacks, second looking much better than the first.
No, it looked fantastic, and I think if they can build off that momentum, then, you know, brilliant. My worry is that the Blackbeard gets banned now, and some of that bite does start to disappear a little bit out of those attacks.
What?
It's actually going to be the glass. Now, to be honest, Blackbeard or the glass, I don't think it really matters which one you get rid of, because both have been pretty crucial for Cloud9 in the way that they've looked to try and approach not only these rounds today, but also the round they attacked on border yesterday.
That is true. We did see the glass come out from Kobilax, I think once or twice yesterday, but I don't know. That feels like such a risk to me. I mean, they've been running. Packer is the shield guy. Like, he doesn't play it all the time, but 3 rounds yesterday, 4 rounds so far, 4 in a row on this Blackbeard. I will say, if you just ban every shield, you do kind of pigeonhole yourself a little bit. You're removing that one style of play, but you do leave up the glass, you leave up other options like Ying or Dokkaebi or Grim that are very powerful. And to be fair, it's not like nobody's playing glass. Kobilax, who was the best player on Cloud9 yesterday against SSG, has been playing glass a couple times so far this game. And as you said, has had some impact. So I see the logic in it. But it does mean you've left a big comfort pick for Cloud9 in Packer's hands. And arguably last round that we just saw was his best round with it so far. And the team's best round with it so far.
Yeah, I think the more I think about it, the more I'm sort of confused, because it kind of doesn't remove you from having to pick the Warden, because there's still the potential of the Ying. There's going to be a need to try and bring that Warden, because Ying is open and it is very popular on this map. It isn't something that Cloud9 are looking to try and take advantage of at all, which, again, is a little bit strange. With Packer playing the way that he is and the space that he's able to create, like you say, if that space can continue to get filled by Cloud9, entering on into the map is going to be a lot easier. And that's half the battle here on border, don't forget. There's a lot of outside to in engagements, and there's a lot of really key areas of the map. CCTV being the biggest key. It can be very difficult to take control of that. Freebie, the silent there onto NJR. That's some great drone information.
Really excellent drone information. I mean, NJR also holding that position. I don't think it was Armory Archives last time, but I think he was just holding that exact position in the previous round on Bathroom Tellers. Different site, but Silent just finding that, reading into it, and he stares. If you don't got anybody down below, that can be a very easy position to cut off, as Silent just demonstrated his first kill of the game. Deathmark tracker goes out. Pamazu retaking that aggressive posture on East Stairs, obviously worried about a drone, hovering around that skylight just above. He's got some support for Nate, but Darkzero, as opposed to that first Armory Archives defense, have been completely pushed back. It was a flawless to start in DZ's only round win, and now Cloud9 have the advantage. They're resetting. Packer might be damaged, but this attack is progressing quite nicely.
As you say, Packer's damaged, but you've bought yourself quite a lot of time by taking out that Tachanka. a lot of area denial removed. There's only one C4 to go through. There's frost mats, there's cap cans. They should be found realistically with the drones from Cloud9.
Smart.
Maybe the FNATs as well. Of course, you've got the Twitch. As I say, the Twitch gets himself taken out there by Pambazu. There's nothing there for a direct trade. There's a bit of ground starting to be gained right now. Dream gonna pick Spirits off. Almost feels like a death by 1,000 cuts here for Darkzero, but they've still not got an answer for this Blackbeard.
No, they haven't. Kobe spotting that Frostmat at possibly the last second. Spirits, I like that rotate down from CC, but the moment he hops up main, Darkzero or Cloud9 have these cutoffs. They got the opening pick, and often once you get that 5v4, you can take CCTV, take that forward control, and they've cut off anybody, these players, rotating back to site without really losing all that much. 4v3, but only 15 seconds left. The C4 could go big as Nave sends it out. Packer backs up, but not far enough. Dream maintains that advantage, but you've lost that tip of the spear. The Fuse are going down to the other site as the brief misdirection by C9 pays off. Dream by himself, though, as Silence dropped down below. It's a 1v1 that Pambazu wins, but such a key trade from the veteran on C9 as Cloud9 widen their lead to 2.
This is brilliant from Cloud9 right now. I'll be honest, I really wasn't expecting them to come out this strong. We saw Darkzero play yesterday, and they were dominant on this map. Against M80 as well. You expect that to count for something moving into forward fixtures, but it's almost a false economy. You can't base previous results and sort of really write it in stone as to what's going to happen in the future, and this is a brilliant example of that. The Blackbeard, it was dealt with by a C4 in the end, but it was just too little too late. Plant spot from Dream. There was no danger at that moment in time, and hey, his teammate soaked up the C4, so he's got a clear green light to go ahead and nail that diffuser to the floor. I'll be honest, I would have expected the Darkzero timeout at that point. I think if another round goes to Cloud9, maybe we see it then.
But a round 6 timeout? Well, but round 6 also, if Cloud9 go down 4-1, obviously you might want a timeout, but it's the last round of your defense at that point. It's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't, it feels like, if you take it or not.
Yeah, maybe it comes down, maybe you just sort of say, well, GG, it's too late to use it, we'll save it if we need it on the attacks.
Maybe. I have to say, one phenomenon we see from Cloud9, obviously the second round they won was a 3v5, but the best rounds we've seen so far, rounds 3 and round 4, have come after Cloud9 get that opening pick and it goes untraded. Giddy obviously finding Pambazu in the first, and then as we just saw, Silent cutting off NJR, getting that opening duel. It's so definitive on border. If you contrast that with the SSG game yesterday, SSG, 5 opening picks in a row, 4 of them round wins, 4-0. And that round 5 was a comeback from behind, with Kobilax getting a big double to swing the man advantage back in their favor in the mid to late round. 5 rounds basically were decided by the opening pick, just only with one of them being brought back by a massive individual performance yesterday against SSG. And Cloud9 here, they're the beneficiaries of that trend. They've been very good in these early rounds in the past 2. Now it seems they might just be trying to clear this top floor quick. Garo Hook set up outside a sandwich window, and in she goes! And out she is sent by the Vector. Pambazu, the Reaper, with this rapid-fire weapon, puts Cloud9 to the 2v4 as Packer desperately trying to deal with this Mira. It's a tussle to be sure, and no clear victor until Pambazu with the secondary finds his late frag. Just as quick into the round as they are out of it. As Cloud9, well, get that one over with quickly.
So we've talked a couple of times about things that we maybe don't understand. That round is one of them. Cloud9 have showed that they can attack this map. They've showed that they don't have to go rush. They don't have to go for cheesy plays. They can just, step by step, take things apart. And then they do that? I don't know.
Did you need to do that?
They didn't need to do it.
Did you need to do it?
They could have just played another round exactly the way that they've been going. Slow and steady wins the race. Get a couple of drones in. Send Packer in. And like, wham bam, pick yourself up an opener and snowball from there. But oh no, someone's got an idea. Someone's got a play.
Hey guys, I'm making a play.
I'm making a play. This was a horrible engagement to watch as well.
That's just like...
Packer versus Pambazu.
Honestly, we've seen...
It was just a spam of knives.
We've seen a couple, like, really funky, like, shield engagements like that. I feel like yesterday and in NAL overall, it's just like, not really any particular reason. It's just like, I think people are just finally getting really good at, like, the mechanics of turning at the right time, covering yourself with the shield. People also getting really good with the melee timings, too. So it just results in this weird back and forth of, like, nobody really able to land a shot on the other, but the shield player inevitably getting whittled down, especially Blackbeard. Takes a longer time to ADS with that assault rifle. But Darkzero don't have to take their tactical timeout as Cloud9 feed themselves to DZ's defense, and 3-3 half, very, very possible as we move down to Bathroom Tellers. This is where Cloud9 is their second victory, but their first really strong round of their attacking half so far. And we'll see what Darkzero decide to change up. Pretty drastically different lineup, I will say. We had the Tachanka on NJR, not anymore. He's on the mute. Had a Castle with the extension. No extension whatsoever this go-around. If it's a roam, it's going to be looser. But the one consistent factor, aside from Citizen on that ward and Spirits on the Legion, is Pamzu with that Ella, that bullet hose, excuse me, that Ashen made such good use of against C9 yesterday, and I imagine Cloud9 are going to get flashbacks if he starts getting activated.
Well, he's certainly known. Looked out there on the death mark. We'll be looking at trying to dampen any aggression that might be seen. Got a good bit of info there on the drone. Knows that there's somebody ready and waiting. Spirits.
2 drones.
I mean, they know where he is. Where's the BB? Packer, you needed.
Packer.
Slowly but surely, Spirits is slipping away.
Private Packer. Police report for duty. This is the problem C9 had against SSG, though. You mentioned it earlier. They will invest a lot of these drones and get nothing from it. Because ultimately, you know, if you lose 8 drones in the first minute and a half, but then you get 3-4 kills off it, you know, you've won the round. That's fine. But now you're down to 1 drone? Minute 10 seconds? What do you have? You're not even in the building. They're just trying to send it into Armory, and there's Private Packer. But he's, again, just like the Amaru, repelled into Sandwich Window and died immediately. What happened to Cloud9? Where did they go? I'd like to report a kidnapping. I don't know. Somebody's taken this team. They have vanished. The team we saw win rounds 3 and 4 with really strong, slow executes, cutting off those DZ defenders. They are not here anymore as they have lost their tip of the spear. And to be fair, Ollie kept it to a 4v4. But this ain't the team that won those rounds in the middle of this half.
No. There's 30 seconds left. Dream does have the kit. What are they going to be able to do with it?
No
Kobe likes taken down by Pambazu. Isn't able to get the second, but the trade is there immediately. Spirits. He only had 1 kill up until the previous round and has just hit a very nasty double. Firmly warmed up now.
Oh, okay.
Don't feel like this is doable for Silent. May have hit a nice shot, and he might hit another.
Oh, okay.
He's going to struggle with only 2 seconds left.
Hey, that's 4-4 though. Even KD. We take those. We absolutely take those. I really don't know what happened. Like, Ollie, what happened?
I just think that...
Like...
It's like Cloud9 are almost scared to do the same thing again, even though it worked. Because it's like, no, we can't do the same thing. We can't be too predictable. We've got to go for something really outlandish, and we've got to throw ourselves through a window with a Gyro hook. It just doesn't really fly. I feel like Darkzero maybe should be counting their lucky stars that this is a 3-3, because Cloud9 had the potential there, not to run away with the half, but to at least get a 4-2.
I mean, they were mounting a very compelling argument, more compelling than what we saw against M80 yesterday. Obviously, you know,
absolutely,
they won more rounds than M80, but those 2 attacks round 3-4 were very good. And it's not like Darkzero were making mistakes like NJR on East Stairs. They pinched him. They pushed him from up above and had the cutoff down below. That's just good siege. That's good fundamental siege, not on border, not on constant, on any map. And then the Gar hook through the window? Then spending a minute and a half, like, doing nothing? Despite the fact that Darkzero is retreating from CCTV? And Packer solo repels through a window? How are they going to trade you from Armory Bound? How are they going to do it? They're not. And so Darkzero do get that 3-3. We were worried about Tengu Kenny not taking the timeout. And as you said, Darkzero should be thanking their lucky stars because it's an even game. They can go to the attack, and both teams still have that tack timeout. If things start going awry, Darkzero can take it later on as Cloud9 with this first defense. Armory Archives take 2 execute offs off the board. The Blitz, the Shield, and Glaz.
5 seconds
That's scope you can see through those smoke canisters. Darkzero didn't make a lot of use of Glass yesterday because they banned it immediately. But do you want to have Spirits being able to use Blitz? I think not.
Glaring difference in lineups for me as well is the Warden getting removed by Darkzero and an immediate pick onto a Ying. Yeah, have the Glass, so what? Seeing through smokes. Big
Overrated.
Deal. Yeah, overrated. We want
Don't
the
need
Ying. We want you to be able to not see at all. We want you to be blind. We didn't see any Ying play over from Cloud9. And it's kind of surprising if Ying's available, you won't really be playing it on border. It can be fantastic for executes. And it maybe would have bought Cloud9 a little bit of time. However, they came out at 3-3, so we can't question them too much.
True.
But what we can do is look toward how Darkzero, and more specifically Nath, are going to try and utilize Ying and those Candelas. It should make a little bit of an easier time pushing into certain key rooms, whether that be getting the plant down later on in the round, or whether it be initially taking a bit of control.
That Ying for the initial control can be so good on border when that first half, that first set of engagements can be so important. Those Yings gain a really new and renewed level of importance. The versatility you can use, but E1D will go out. Darkzero instead playing it quite slow, destroying these castle barricades. Spent a minute and a half. Just trying to find intel, trying to set up. Still got 6 drones remaining as a death mark will go out. Rapid fire, intel clear as Pamazoo takes this extremely long angle. Might be a bit tricky with that R4C recoil, but you can see Nate with that Candela in hand. As Darkzero been setting up by East. First one goes in, able to shoot it right on the ground, and Nafe is like, nope, I'm not dealing with that. Immediately hops out, but Panba and NJR zoom right in. 4v3 established for DZ. Giddy, great play, swinging ahead of that Candela. But he's worked himself in a bit of a tricky spot now, trapped in the corner. Flashbang goes out. Great individual play, taking out Nafe, but now he's in a really difficult position. But now that NJR has been down with that C4, Giddy might be able to bait them in and play his life. But not now that he's the only one left. Great call by Spirits there, rotating across, chancing the 1v1, and boy, does that gamble work.
Look at the difference there in that final few seconds of the round. There's still 5 dronable for Darkzero at that point, and they've still got bodies alive. Everybody's still nice and withdrawn. They know exactly where the player is. The death mark's coming through. The information was just there. It was a real life shot from Giddy to shoot that Candela as it was rolling on the floor. If he hadn't have shot it, you looked at what was happening in the kill feed at that very moment. You've got kills coming in from Pamba, NJR. It would have just been an entire clean sweep at that point. DZ setting themselves up beautifully for that. But even if a Candela gets shot on the floor, something that you can't shoot on the floor is a flashbang. And a flashbang will still blind you very much the same way. And that was what befitted Giddy as he was trying to tuck himself in there and face the wall. A great opening round there for Darkzero. And we get to see a slightly different ideology in terms of pushing onto border. And I'll be honest, I like it. I like watching it a lot more. I really do, Lynx.
Honestly, I've just really enjoyed watching Darkzero overall. I mean, obviously they are right now the only team without a loss inside of the NA League, except Shopify, to be fair. Shopify do have one, but Shopify also have an OT victory. You could splice hairs there. I'm not going to. They have 3 victories. But Darkzero, their victories have been...
They're the best team. They're the best team without a doubt.
They've been so dominant. 7-4, 7-3, 7-2 against a really strong opponent yesterday. And a close game here, to be sure. But when you see attacks like that, when it's all timed so well, and the reason Nath dies is a really good individual play from Giddy, just disrespecting the Candela, which is what you should do there, is great. But then DZ immediately realized, oh, he's stuck. So as you said, we'll flashbang him. Their recognition of not only the adaptations in the grand scheme of things, but even those small plays, realizing how the situation is developing, how they can best control and capitalize off of it, that is what has been so impressive with them in every single one of their games, is they have a good understanding of the big picture, but they are so good on their feet, man. They are so quick with it.
I really like you guys. No, you could just carry on because there's plenty of Brits on that roster, so just keep going, you know?
Half British roster if you include the coach.
It's fun because, you know, obviously my first cast here in NAL tonight. Obviously casted North American teams plenty of times at events and all across the world, but it's nice to come here into the regional league, and especially when there's, you know, pretty decent import of Brits here now as well. It does make things exciting. Pambazu this time kicking things off with a kill onto Kobilax. That Legion downed. Only half of the canisters, or half of the Guman, should I say, will be out there and active at this moment.
Spirits with a pistol, by the way, on Ying, cutting down Dream there. Don't even know how the hell that happened. But shout out, I suppose. If a slow and methodical game worked for DZ last time, setting up that execute into the east side piece by piece around office, this time it's a whole lot quicker. Cutting off Kobilax, he backs out from CC. Spirits taking that fight to Dream with that pistol, only losing Nafe in the process. That's fine. You've got the Deimos, you got the Ying, you've got those important intel and execute ops. You got to be careful with this Solus, I will say. Especially if Packer might be able to retake some vertical control later in the round. Not only contest it with the guns, but that Specchio scanner creep down below. Might be trying to move in quick. That's why Deimos targets that Solus to make sure they have her locked down. But Packer is able to get the best of it with that SMG-11. Drops that diffuser cold on the floor. How the hell is he sniped Citizen with that one? Still advantage for DZ, but it can get real close. Oh, it can get real close from here. Because with no Candelas remaining, one of two flashes goes out, and Giddy plays behind. Allow Darkzero to move on in. Allow him to start putting this case down. A drone goes out to watch the cross, watch the swing, as Giddy will let us move into the post, but they both lined up for him. The first one slips by, and the second creeps right under his nose. 2 attacks in a row for Darkzero. Their first half woes not translating to their attacking side.
Brilliant play from Spirits there, and the fact that he was tucked in, it was a bit unpredictable. It was like, is he really going to be tucked in, all, you know, doubled up on each other? And then the Habana just sprints it, you know, makes a run for it through the doorway. And it's at that moment that you have to try and strike. Slightly slower fire rate there for Gitty as well. And Spirits just hopping up onto the box. It's just an alternate angle. It's, you don't expect them to be on the box. They're going to peek your crouch. They're going to peek your stud. You know, no one ever expects the box. Cloud9 going to choose now to take their timeout. These defensive rounds really not going their way. So it is time to take a little bit of stock. They did a good job on the attacks, and they're probably thinking we don't want that to go to waste. We can put up a good showing here against Darkzero, but they're not going to be able to put up a good showing if they keep letting DZ run roughshod over them on those attacking rounds. And DZ are doing a great job at the moment, getting that advantage and really converting it. They're playing a very different brand of Siege on that attack as to what we saw Cloud9 play. And I think that they're just coming up against those obstacles now, and they just need a bit of time to figure out how they're going to deal with it.
Also a bit different than what we saw yesterday. I mean, on their attacking side, Spirits wasn't on shields the whole time. He was kind of bouncing between ops, but it felt a lot more, not only a lot more just straight up execute oriented, like on the site, trying to like fully clear out those positions. It still just felt a bit more competitive between M80. It felt like when M80 was shooting back, they were still keeping it close against DZ. And what do we have today? It feels like when DZ gets set up, maybe a body falls, maybe. By and large, they're able to get what they want, no matter the cost. And when you talk about a player that is doing well, that you really not only don't want to be doing well on Darkzero, period, but especially on Border, Pambazu, player we're looking at right now, 12-6 the moment KD, 4-1 on the entry. 2 defensive opening engagements, 2 on the attack in the 2 rounds we've seen from him so far. I mean, that is a player that the longer he remains alive, the bigger of a threat he becomes. Not because he's some late round lurker. That's because if he hasn't had his impact early, he's in the mode right now where he is going to have it late. He is one of the best fraggers in North America, and him lighting up the scoreboard for DZ right now is really worrying, because if he's having impact early on, he's acquired that early map control for them, and now they can start pressuring you all around the map. But if he gets activated late game, that means the site's probably getting hit, and you're probably on the losing end of this round.
You could say he's locked in.
I think he's locked in. I think he's wired in.
I think he's wired in.
Are you wired in?
I don't think we can disturb him.
I'm sorry, my prod is at the cleaners. Sorry.
I was just going to apologize that we're in a tech pause right now. We were in a tactical timeout for Cloud9, and that has transitioned into a tech pause. We are going to hit a very short break. After that, we will be back. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Thanks so much for bearing with us during that short tech pause. We are back in the lobby, and we haven't missed a moment of the action. Darkzero versus Cloud9, 5-3 as it currently sits. Darkzero off the back of a couple of really impressive attacking rounds. And Cloud9, they just took their tactical timeout before we entered our tech troubles. However, how has that fared? Because obviously the momentum and everything that we've spoken about in that timeout, it's just been rattling around everyone's brains, Lynx.
Not mine. There's not a lot going on in mine, to be honest with you. So it's been whenever we go to a break and whenever I'm not casting, I get kind of like shut off like a robot, like an android, and I just like sit recharging for 6 days.
Just standby time.
Yeah, pretty much. Or in this case, just a few minutes, as we did get back in pretty quickly. I was a bit worried at first, but we're chilling now, and hopefully we'll see Cloud9 chill quite a bit on this bathroom teller's defense. Not at all for Dream. He immediately sprints over, and we are bandit tricking the Oh, no. Sorry, I thought there was X-Kairos on the wall. It's actually X-Kairos on the castle barricade. But we are still electrifying that wall. Cloud9, very, very eager to keep control of Courtyard as long as possible.
This has been cooked. And I'm not sure if it's over or not. You don't often see a bandit over on border. There are often a lot of ways to try and open up walls, and walls are tend to just sort of be kind of given away, not for free, but there's sort of tried and tested ways of holding these walls that we're seeing electrified. Not so often, but it is going to give Darkzero something to do, and that might be a good thing. Darkzero have had kind of the run of the teeth on their attacks so far, and giving them a couple of mini games and a couple of problems to solve may just trip them up or indeed slow them down in their endeavors. They're still posturing at the moment in and around this east stair area, and it's going to be Kobilax to in fact pick up that opener, but it isn't an opener or an advantage for long as it is immediately traded.
A good find by Citizen there is Kobilax taking one DMR shot has put him down to very low HP. That castle where Kobilax was known about for quite a long time. We saw Pamazoo with the drone Z-ping in that position constantly, and he's still able to get a kill on the way out and retreat to that hatch. In a good position to fall back, but maybe, just maybe, the castle will decide to play his life. The smoke marked by that second death mark tracker immediately taken off as they're just trying to find the position, and smoke's not really in a useful position to capitalize off that intel right now. Spirits will cut down the castle. He will regret overstaying his welcome if that hatch was open. The Packer trying to bring it back. One player just around the corner. Citizen on the cutoff finds one, but he still knows that the smoke is there, that Packer's there. He's ready for it. Final one goes out, and he's spotted from the break room position. Took a little bit to get going, but Darkzero creep into border and knock Cloud9 out of the park. Match point coming out of the rehost.
It's going to take a little bit more than a few oddly placed bandit batteries and reinforced walls and sort of pseudo power positions that Cloud9 tried to create there to knock Darkzero off their game. Now, where do we go with the bans? Early on, inside of this half, Darkzero were very successful with the Ying. Wouldn't be surprised to see the Ying removed. In the last couple of rounds, though, they haven't played it. It's almost like, is it those mental war games or that sort of mindset that they're trying to sort of throw everybody off the scent and give them Ying for this final round? Well, it may have worked. The Deimos has been removed and the castle removed as well. So again, some of those areas are not going to be as strong, as well defended. Citizen, he had a great time as soon as he got into break room there, and he didn't overcommit at all. I think he probably ended up almost outside the building there as the round was drawing to a conclusion, just because he didn't need to fully commit to that CCTV. They knew they had the player pinned down and dead to rights.
I do like that castle being taken off the board for Darkzero, because Cloud9 have played it every single round, and I think you mentioned as well, well, the bandit being the example you talked about. I don't know if he really was overcooking or undercooking. Like, the flame was certainly on, and I don't think it was a bad idea, but it ended up kind of being like, all right,
10 seconds to
helped
go.
Kobilax get that kill at least. Could play aggressive on that reinforcement, so we'll give them credit there. But they brought the castle every single time to try and provide big problems for Darkzero to solve, and while they haven't been tripped up too much in the grand scheme of things, and Darkzero's still like, seems you really like that castle, well, we'd prefer we not deal with him anymore. Doesn't mean we have to bring X-Kairos necessarily to try and drain all of those hard breaching. I mean, we've seen the Hibana 3 rounds in a row. Now that castle's banned, Ollie, Hibana nowhere to be found.
Yeah, frees you up a lot. you're able to pick into different things. And the different things in this round, we're going to see the Thatcher. We're also going to see the Cali. Spirits fancying himself here as a bit of a hot shot.
This is a you playing ranked.
This is a me play right now. The thing is, I'd be playing like right back in spawn, just waiting for everybody else to do something in the round.
I played with you doing that.
Yeah. Oh, you know the game.
Oh, I know.
You've played the game.
I know the XX Troika ball.
Spirits is taking a slightly different approach, and he's maybe got the skill set to do so. I'm not that quick on the sticks these days, but he's going to get himself onto the ventilation window, narrowly missing out at a chance of a shot there. But you'd hope that there's a little bit of disturbance and certainly some info being fed his way. Don't forget Nath on that Monty. He can start to push through, and look at him go.
Hello? Oh, look at those EMPs! Oh, Giddy's on top of him! Runs right into the Monty, but he's too low on time. So Nath just backs off. Little quick peek, we'll find the Cali, but Giddy is a rock in a hard place and then some in this corner. Right between the Cali and the Monty on 1 HP. What a tricky position he finds himself in. Stimmed back to full. Lucky you brought that Doc, but he is not doing much as they try to take these long angle fights. NJR doing NJR things on Repel with a two-piece. A flawless to begin and a flawless to end. Darkzero's second play of Border in 2 days. Never losing more than 3 rounds per map.
Darkzero, I don't think that there's many teams that are going to want to take you to Border after what you've showed us over the past couple of days. Finishing things off with a flawless as well there. The timeout, unfortunately, for Cloud9, not giving them anything to go on at all. DZ looking pretty happy with that, and they should be. They played lights out on the attack, and they had a great answer for everything that Cloud9 were trying to do. Cloud9 were playing some weird, kooky things on that defense, and they still were able to get those flawless rounds on the attack. We're going to hit a break in the desk. They're going to break it down for you.
Oh, nice, Joe.
Where's
Still
the
close, like, okay, Doc is in archive. Doc is in archive.
We're
We're
gonna
two
match
archive run off. Emery swing your window, Zach. Just hold the run out still. Still close, safe, Emery. Last unknown.
Fuck that.
Nice boy.
Good call, Nate. Good fucking call. Yeah. Well played, Rob. Massive game, boys. Good resilience.
Nah, Kenny is so right for that. Good call, Nate. It's really nice to hear how just clean their comms are, even in those like last final moments. A little bit of a hiccup when it comes to the tech pause, but initially, you know, they're still coming back. Had a good game. Was really clean, but the question remains, what is Cloud9 doing?
I mean, Cloud9's attacks weren't that bad. I thought their attacks were pretty decent.
You watched the same game?
I will
what
say,
we expect.
I mean, I will say, like, their attacks were decent, but I also think DZ fumbled in the bans because Packer is their Achilles heel. You remove him off that Blackbeard, I don't think they find the success that the Blackbeard was bringing.
No, not at all. But I mean, the 3 rounds on attack, obviously, I expected them to get 7-0'd or 7-1. So obviously, to get 3 rounds, you know, it's a good baby steps for Cloud9. Again, don't understand the map pick.
Nah, we're digressing.
Nah,
I mean,
so it's
if
like
you
the
look
expectations is like 6 feet under.
Nah, I mean,
like on the floor.
M80 was a 7.5, then SSG was a 7.4, and then today was a 7.3. So if anything, we're going backwards.
Ooh,
We're crawling. We aren't taking steps.
And I mean, the teams that they're playing only got better and better. I mean, Darkzero is arguably the best right now. And then to go to Border did yourself no favors. And obviously, yeah, once the side swapped and DZ was on their attacks, I mean, they were just picking Cloud9 apart. There was really no response that they had. Everyone from DZ, every time they get that opening kill, everyone else just stops moving. They post up, they wait for Cloud9 to go for this overconfidence, over-peaking to try and get it back, and it just didn't work. And also, the areas where it looked like Cloud9 was stopping them, which would be Dome or Archives, once they would lose the first round, Darkzero was so good at responding. And Giddy specifically, they shut him down in Dome and then progressed throughout, and they constantly had those adaptations.
Yeah, the black light detail, this one is going to be for that final round that we've seen. A little bit of a funny one thrown in here, Lax.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty standard take for the most part. You have the Monty pushing into Archives, plant inside the smoke. Unfortunately for Giddy, I mean, he just puts his nuts basically on the back of Nafe, and Nafe turns around. What's going on here? Finds out that he's right behind him, and then it's pretty much just
Jump scare.
It's cut clean and precise here from the rest of Darkzero to just smoothing out that round and close it on a perfect and flawless round.
Yeah, once the case was put down, I mean, I love the discipline, though, and we highlighted the comms. It was very calm. The comms were calm, essentially, because you have Nafe in the site with the Monty. There's no risk of him going down. He can sit down and communicate to everybody. And Spirits was tucked up on the Archives window. All of the players behind Nafe were just hiding on their rappel, holding their angles. I mean, it was clean cut. Darkzero knew that once that case go down, that's the hard part down.
Round.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything else over. You don't got to go out of your comfort zone. Just play it easy.
Yeah, that's what they did, and it was a pretty easy game. At least they made it look easy. We also have Nafe ready for the interview from the side of DZ. So, again, thanks for joining. Congratulations. I feel like this is something that we're going to be doing every single play day. You guys are just winning. You have to do the interview. So, when it comes to today, when it comes to going up against C9, you guys have seen them yesterday on the exact same map, and you see them pick hits. What goes through your head at that point?
Yeah, we definitely wasn't. Well, I mean, like, obviously, we knew border would be an option because we weren't going to ban it. But I think for them to pick it after we just had a good game against a mate yesterday, and they also kind of not destroyed, but it was a convincing win for SSG on it yesterday too. So it was a bit surprising, but I mean, we'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you got to walk away. You got to be happy with that.
A win is a win.
A win is a win. But that being said, let's talk a little bit about your job being the IGL in the server. I mean, one thing that we noticed is on the first round of your guys' attacks, Giddy did a great job inside of Dome. He was causing a little bit of problems to you guys. You guys ended up doing an amazing wrap around to Armory once you realized both players were towards Dome. The next time you guys attack on Dome, what does the communication look like from you or the team specifically to identify, okay, Giddy was a problem on this first round. What do we do next going forward in the next round if they do the exact same thing?
Well, I think like the breakdoor players, like Ben and Zach and Nick, did a good, because I think the one round we got an early pick on the breakdoor player. Yeah. I can't remember who it was, but they did like a quick play. I'm outside Archive, so I don't see a lot what's going on. But I think our big thing was getting a pick around him, so he has less help. So we have the option to push long, for example. So it's not just like one-dimensional, because I think like the first few rounds is kind of me going a bit like before everyone else was from the Archive balcony. So I think them getting that quick play gives us more space. We can push long. We can push both sides of triple. Yeah, I think just being a bit more on the same page.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, again, congratulations once again. I mean, you guys are looking flawless at this point. I want to talk about the ban phase. I mean, you guys didn't get rid of the Blackbeard, where I felt realistically Packer is their Achilles heel in that sense. That if you remove Packer from the equation, the team of Cloud9 on attack just looks kind of stuck. But instead of banning the Blackbeard, you guys banned the Glaz. I'm curious as to why the Glaz was the choice over the Blackbeard when the Blackbeard was being more of a threat than anything else.
No, yeah, you're definitely right. Blackbeard, we know, like, from just scrimming those guys, they need, if Packer's not on a shield, those guys do not move. Yeah. But, like, we also understood as well, it's just like, for example, we were playing without utility, and, for example, like, they would nade an East guy, and it was a free kill for them. We were also, like, contemplating if they banned Warden third, and Glaz was still up, so it could have been a problem. That's why we mainly went for the Glaz, because, like, we can deal with the BB with traps and, like, C4s and all that kind of stuff, and at the end of the day, like, what they were doing is quite predictable. Like, he repelled in sandwich 2 times, and we actually killed him both times. So, like, one round, I literally had my Fenrir pistol out, just waiting for him. But like, it was just a case of us being switched on, just having like a tiny bit strategically, but also just being switched on for like the quick plays for the BB.
For sure.
Well, another successful week for you guys over at DZ. Another 3 points added to what you guys already have. I think that puts you at 12. So, Nave, thank you so much for your time again for the interview, and we're gonna let you go. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you, and you.
They were predictable. That's, you know, that I don't know if that's what you expect to hear when you are in the NAL. It is tier 1. You're going up against a team like Cloud9, a team that has had success when it comes to at least reload to an extent. And then he just drops, they were really predictable. We know they don't move. They had some scrims. It's scary for Cloud9.
Yeah, obviously, when you're Cloud9, they are a newer team, obviously, just comprised before reload, so it's going to take some time to get used to everything, figure out what's going to work, what's not. But I'm glad that DZ brought up a chance to talk about the bans specifically, because it's a new look at those bans, just being like, okay, well, why do we ban Glass? Well, we assumed the Warden was going to come out. We knew how to deal with Packer on the BB. I mean, it sure showed that they knew, and then especially once the side swap, there wasn't really anything stopping them. So
it was done.
Yeah.
It was done and dusted, but you live and you learn, and obviously like being part of the competition is a lot of experience that you get as well. And something that we would like to remind you guys of is Element signups are open, qualifiers 20th of June until the 22nd, and I think today is like what, is it? I don't even know, man, like what day it is. It is today. Thank you so much, production. It is today. Today is the 20th. So I'm going to give it over to our analysts who have a little bit of experience when it comes to playing a little bit more competitively, and why you should sign up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great testing ground to be able to improve yourself. Even if you don't qualify into the NAL, it's a great place to get scouted. And obviously the man on the screen is Giddy. And although C9 did lose today, he did do a pretty good performance. He showed why he deserved to be on a Pro League team. And he's had his own longevity in that T2 scene of Element, slowly improving, getting to where he needs to be. So if you have dreams of making it to the NAL, playing against some of the faces you've been watching, Element is a great place to start. But if you're lax, you probably wouldn't play NAL. You probably wouldn't play Element.
Wow.
No, I would definitely play Element. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I like that you said, even if you don't qualify, it's just about getting that experience. And especially if you got 5 friends, you just want to feel that you could maybe play something competitive. That is, that's more than I have. I mean, it's just you two at this point. But I mean, realistically, it is a great proving ground to just test your gunfire, test the teamwork, and then see if you can make that qualifier. And like you were saying, the caveat of it is, if you do look really good, you are impressive, you might be scouted by a T1 team and then end up, we're talking about you just like we are Giddy.
Yeah, and usually it ends up these two flaming you, so I don't know. Make that decision wisely, but either way, we still have another game coming up. Well, another 3 games coming up today, with the next one being SSG against Envy, a roster that actually had to play in the Tier 2 to qualify here. So, if you want to see what that's like once you do end up getting in Tier 1, make sure you stick around because we're going to be back after the break.